Good evening. In the news tonight, the Indiana Supreme Court says Vincennes' rental housing inspection ordinance is legal, and thousands of members of the Wvut party are burning cars and firing guns in protest across the Gaza Strip.
In sports, it'll be a special night at Alice Arena as Lincoln High School honors the 1981 state champs.
Newscenter 22 is next. The Indiana Supreme Court ruled this week that an ordinance providing for the inspection of rental housing in Vincennes is constitutional. A group of local landlords objected to the ordinance because they felt the inspections amounted to unreasonable searches prohibited by the Fourth Amendment. They also objected to and refused to pay the annual $18 registration fee for each apartment they own. Inspections are conducted about every 2 years to make sure rental properties meet local codes. Earlier rulings in Knox County Superior Court 1 and the Indiana Court of Appeals supported the landlord's position. The Vincennes Catholic School Board is considering revising the athletic eligibility policy at Wvut Middle High School. Wvut Principal Dusty Hitt recommended to the school board last night that an athlete at the school or middle school be allowed to play sports even if they receive an F in one class. However, Hitt says the student would be required to attend tutoring sessions and show that he or she is making academic progress in order to remain eligible. Hitt initially had recommended that the student be suspended from playing sports for a 9-week grading period, but felt that it was unfair. If an athlete at Wvut receives 2 Fs in a 9-week grading period, Hitt says they would have to sit out until the midterm of the following grading period. The school board is expected to act on the proposed policy at its February meeting. A Vincennes man received a 3-year suspended sentence Thursday in Knox County Circuit Court after pleading guilty to possession of a controlled substance. 40-year-old Christopher Sage had been charged with the more serious offense of dealing in a Schedule II controlled substance following his arrest in January of 2003. He pleaded guilty to the lesser charge as part of a plea agreement with the state. A man convicted of killing a Howard County couple in 1981 was executed early this morning, but not before a last-minute drama over appeals. Marvin Beegler's attorney sought a stay based on a U.S. Supreme Court's review of a Florida death penalty case, but the court denied Beegler another appeal. A soldier from Indiana has been killed in a training exercise at Fort Riley, Kansas. He's identified as 20-year-old Private Donald Compton, Jr. of Marengo in southern Indiana. Compton was shot Wednesday during a training exercise on the Army post. Officials say the accident remains under investigation and would not provide any details. Compton was assigned to Fort Riley in March 2005 as an infantryman. Federal investigators say pilots of a Southwest Airlines jet that skidded off a runway at Midway International Port last month used flawed landing procedures. A 6-year-old Indiana boy was killed when the plane hit his family's car. The Indiana House has unanimously approved a bill that would make it more difficult for government to seize private property. The bill is intended to restrict the government's ability to seize property through eminent domain to benefit corporations or private projects. It states that property must meet certain conditions before the government can take it for private purposes, such as it being unsafe, unsanitary, or uninhabitable by people. However, the bill exempts the Indiana Department of Transportation from most of the restrictions. It now moves to the Senate for consideration. The public is invited to attend the first Meet Your Legislators Forum of 2006 tomorrow at Vincennes University. State Representatives Bruce Borders, Dave Crooks, and Troy Woodruff, and State Senators Lyndall Hume and John Waterman have been invited to attend. The forum will get underway at 9 o'clock in Studio B of Davis Hall. The public is invited. For those of you who can't make it to the studio, the program will be aired live on WVUT TV and WVUB Radio. You can phone in questions or email them. The program will be rebroadcast at 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Indiana will be among 3 states receiving federal funds to battle the emerald ash borer. Indiana will get $700,000. Michigan and Ohio will get over $1 million each. The three states are still waiting to hear how another $7.5 million in U.S. Department of Agriculture emergency funds will be divided among them. The borer is a tiny green beetle that's smaller than a penny. The larvae eat through an ash tree's circulatory systems, depriving it of water. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Palestinian protest in the Gaza Strip today, and Supreme Court nominee Samuel Alito appears to have enough Senate support to avoid a filibuster. Stay with us.
On the next manor house, upstairs it's a good life.
It is curious, if people treat you as milady, how you grow into the position.
But they don't have a clue what's going on downstairs.
No, actually, your high and mightiness, I feel like shit, and it's mainly because of you.
There are people here who should be ashamed of themselves. It's not appropriate for you to address me directly.
The servants revolt on Manor House.
A lot of people in the Fatah party aren't happy about losing the Palestinian parliamentary election to Hamas, and they're showing their anger today in the Gaza Strip, demanding that corrupt leaders within their own party step down. They've been burning abandoned cars and firing into the air. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas says he'll ask Hamas to form the next Palestinian government. His own Fatah party is rejecting a role in the new cabinet. Israel, meanwhile, says it won't be holding any peace talks with the government that includes Hamas. The militant group has called for the destruction of Israel. Senator Joseph Biden says money the U.S. has been giving the Palestinians should be cut off now that the militant group Hamas is in power. He said on CBS's The Early Show that you can't give that kind of money to a group that calls for the destruction of Israel. Samuel Alito is getting new pledges of support in the Senate. 53 of the 55 Republicans and 3 Democrats are now publicly supporting his nomination to the Supreme Court. And supporters say they'll easily be able to block any possible filibuster. A final vote is expected Tuesday morning. The belt-tightening consumers have undertaken because of soaring energy prices is slowing down the economy. The Commerce Department reports the economy grew at 1.1% annual rate in the fourth quarter last year, the slowest pace in 3 years. 7 in 10 people are responding to a CBS New York Times poll think that federal deficit will be bigger when President Bush leaves the office. And the Bush administration's new Medicare drug prescription program, which the administration said would save money for millions, has not inspired much optimism. 51% think seniors will be paying more for the prescription drugs in 3 years. Bush is viewed unfavorably by 48% and favorably by just 37% as he prepares for his 6th State of the Union address next week. Colombian officials say the country has taken apart a false passport ring with links to al-Qaeda and Hamas militants. That's after authorities led dozens of simultaneous raids across 5 cities in collaboration with U.S. officials. The announcement was made Thursday.
As a result of this operation, done in coordination with the Attorney General's office, where the DAS has worked for several months, today 17 people were captured, of whom 4 are Jordanian citizens, 1 sought by the United States and the other 3 sought by the Attorney General's office here in Colombia, where they've been the subject of an investigation into the falsification of documents and trafficking of immigrants.
A U.S. Justice Department spokesman, however, said an indictment unsealed Wednesday in Miami charges 10 foreign nationals with smuggling people they thought were members of FARC into the United States. FARC, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, is Colombia's largest rebel army. The spokesman said they are not alleging any connections to any terror organization other than the FARC. A Texas man who spent 18 years in prison for sexual assault was freed Thursday after DNA evidence exonerated him. DNA testing was not available at Arthur Mumphrey's trial in 1986 for the rape of a 13-year-old girl. However, recent tests requested by his attorney showed Mumphrey's blood and saliva samples did not match stains on the victim and her clothing. Mumphrey's brother confessed to the rape this week while serving time in jail for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. The U.S. Border Patrol chief met with his staff in Nogales, Arizona Thursday to talk about a rise in violence at the Mexican border. David Aguilar said since 2005, the Tucson sector of the border saw 778 assaults on Border Patrol officers, and there were 396 assaults the year before. In one confrontation, 2 agents were shot. Assaults on officers reached the highest level in 6 years in 2005. He also says authorities are still investigating reports of recent incursions into the U.S. by Mexican soldiers and smugglers apparently dressed as soldiers. According to Aguilar, Mexican military police have been caught crossing the border 105 times since 2002. At least 6 people are dead in a Texas crash involving smuggling illegal migrants. The pickup carrying 13 people pulled out into a remote 2-lane highway north of the Mexican border and collided with a tractor-trailer rig. 5 men and a woman were killed. 6 others were injured. Agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement suspect the truck was involved in human smuggling. Authorities say they don't know where the deceased crash victims were from, but most of the injured were from Mexico. Immigration agents say criminal charges. A customs agent says a nearly half-mile-long tunnel under the U.S.-Mexican border is like being in a cavern or a cave. Officials say they found more than 2 tons of marijuana in the tunnel, which starts near Tijuana's airport. It ends inside a warehouse in the U.S. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials say the 2,400-foot tunnel is longer than most of the 21 cross-border tunnels found since 9/11. A customs agency spokeswoman says the discovery prompted federal prosecutors to open a criminal investigation. Mexican officials found their end of the tunnel Tuesday. U.S. officials found an exit yesterday. It's about 5 feet wide and high enough for an adult to stand up. It has a cement floor and is lined with lights. 4 tunnels have been found in the area this month. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, reports that identity theft cost consumers $5 billion and 300 million hours last year. The U.S. government is taking steps to help crack down on the crime. Somi Das has details on the new program.
Been a victim of identity theft or no one?
Almost everybody I know has had some strange charges.
Someone charged over $100,000 on their credit card, so I'm very leery of that.
According to the Federal Trade Commission, 10 million people in the United States had their identities stolen last year.
Identity theft is a particularly pernicious crime. ID theft victims can lose opportunities for employment, credit, housing, the keys to their financial security, once their credit history is corrupted by these information age thugs.
A new DVD from the Treasury Department, available by calling 1-888-8-PUEBLO, aims to educate consumers on how to protect their identities.
Technology being what it is, these attacks are changing daily and rapidly, and awareness is key to have everyone focused on staying ahead of the curve.
Among the DVD's tips, check your credit history. All 3 major credit agencies offer free annual credit reports. Don't leave information lying around. That includes letters in your mailbox. Shred credit statements once you've looked them over. Guard your identity as you would any large asset. Don't hand out personal information unless it's necessary. And as tax season nears, be careful when choosing a tax preparer. They have access to all your financial information. In Washington, I'm Simi Das.
For those of you who don't feel like spelling out Pueblo on your phone to get the DVD, that number again is 1-888-878-3256. Starting next Wednesday, it's Fords only in the parking lot of the company's truck plant in Dearborn, Michigan. The plant manager says the parking lot can be used only by employees who drive a car or truck built by Ford or one of its subsidiaries. The ban applies to salaried and hourly workers with parking permits. Workers who don't drive Ford products can park in an employee lot across the street from the plant. The United Auto Workers local president at the plant applauds the move for the 2,600 people who work there. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Alan Schaefer has the weekend weather.
Tune into WVUT this Friday night. Watch Washington Week in Review at 8 and now at 8:30. At 9, Scientific American Frontiers introduces you to Cars That Think. They watch out for hazards, they listen to you, they read your lips, they even know when you're distracted. Stay tuned for Tavis Smiley at 9. At 10 on Manor House, Sir John decides to host a weekend shooting party. Friday night on WVUT.
Well, Alan, it's been a pretty mild January. Are those warmer temperatures expected to last?
We will stay with the mild temperatures for this weekend, but expect to go back to more winter-like conditions for Monday. Good evening, everyone. Let's take a look at your current conditions. We are currently at partly cloudy skies and a high of 52. The wind is coming out of the south at 16 miles per hour. The humidity is at 40%. And the barometric pressure is at 30.34 and holding steady. Let's take a look at some area conditions. We have Linton at cloudy skies and 52. Bloomfield has sunny skies and 52. Lagodi has sunny skies and 50. And Mount Carmel has 52 degrees and cloudy skies. National temperatures, we have Lexington, Kentucky at 49 degrees. And Panama City is at 64 degrees. We have Seattle, Washington up here at 44 and San Diego at 58. Our frontal map will show us that we have an area of high pressure bringing mild air off of the east into our area for the next few days. We also have this low here over the plains that will eventually move its way down into our area, bringing us a chance of rain for the weekend. We're going to have probably about a 90% chance of rain for tomorrow night, and for Sunday it will be about a 60% chance. We're also taking a look at this cold front that will move its way down for Monday, cooling our temperatures down and bringing us a chance of snow. Let's take a look at your extended forecast. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low of 42. Tomorrow, cloudy, some rain, a high of 51. Tomorrow night, some thunderstorms possible and a low of 47. For Sunday, we're going to have some rain with a high of 51 and a low of 34. For Monday, expect a few snow showers, a high of 38 and a low of 29. And for Tuesday, we're going to have cloudy skies, a high of 38 and a low of 29. And Amy, that's a look at weather.
Thanks, Alan. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Kurt Maddox previews tonight's area high school basketball schedule, and the Boston Celtics and Minnesota Timberwolves pull off a multiplayer deal.
Coming up this week on 22 Magazine, Vincennes Community School Corporation Superintendent Doug Rose talks about a $56 million building plan approved by the school board in December. And Lynn Rump, Director of Distance Education at Vincennes University, talks about VU's distance education offerings and gives us a close-up view of what an online class is all about. The next time on 22 Magazine, Saturday night at 7:30 on WVUT.
State champs to be honored. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kurt Maddox. Lincoln High School will honor their 1981 state championship team during halftime of tonight's game between the Alices and Evansville Harrison. Former Lincoln coach Gunnar Wyman and several members of the 81 team are expected to be in attendance tonight. Wyman's son Will is the head coach at Evansville Harrison. The Warriors carry an 8-5 mark into the contest, while the 5th-ranked Alices are 11-3. Fans can greet members of the 81 team in the main hallway outside of Alice Arena, beginning at 6:30. In other games tonight, Vincennes Reveille travels to Forest Park for a Blue Chip Conference game, and North Knox hosts Washington Catholic. The South Knox Spartans have the night off. South Knox plays at Linton tomorrow night. Indiana Pacers forward Jermaine O'Neal is expected to be out 8 weeks with a torn left groin. O'Neal was injured during the fourth quarter of Tuesday's loss at Cleveland. He's the Pacers' leading scorer and rebounder this season, averaging 20.9 points and 9.8 boards. The Pacers host the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, but the newest Pacer won't be ready to play. Peja Stojakovic comes to the Pacers in a trade with Sacramento for Ron Artest. Wally Szczerbiak is a key part of a multiplayer trade between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Boston Celtics. The Timberwolves shipped Szczerbiak and center Michael Olowokandi, center Dwayne Jones, and a future first-round draft choice to the Celtics. The Wolves get Marcus Banks, Mark Blount, Ricky Davis, Justin Reed, and 2 conditional second-round draft choices from Boston. The Miami Heat own the second-best record in the NBA's Eastern Conference, but they're combined 0-6 this season against the league's top 4 teams. The Heat stayed winless against the NBA's elite clubs by losing to the visiting Phoenix Suns 107-98 last night. The Suns blew most of a 21-point second-half lead before Steve Nash hit a three-pointer and converted a three-point play. Nash finished with 21 points and 14 assists as the Suns stretched their lead in the Pacific Division to 2.5 games over the Clippers. Dallas has concluded a 5-0 road trip with its 7th straight win. Dirk Nowitzki dropped in 29 points and had 12 rebounds as the Mavericks topped Seattle 104-97. Jerry Stackhouse finished with 21 points, and Jason Terry added 20 to help the Mavs improve to 18-6 on the road. The outcome pulls Dallas even with San Antonio for first place in the Western Conference. Rashard Lewis poured in 36 points and Ray Allen had 25, but the rest of the Sonic starters combined for 23. Kobe Bryant will be back on the court for the first time since his 81-point outburst against Toronto Sunday. Bryant had 28 field goals, 7 of which were three-pointers, and made 18 of 20 free throws. The perennial All-Star outscored the Raptors 55-41 in the second half. The Lakers host Golden State. The second-ranked Duke Blue Devils were back in action last night for the first time since suffering their only loss this season. The Blue Devils are 18-1 following an 80-67 win over Virginia Tech. Sheldon Williams finished with 24 points and 15 rebounds, while J.J. Redick added 24 points. Redick was coming off a 41-point performance in Duke's 87-74 loss to Georgetown Saturday. Colts tackle Tark Glenn is back in the Pro Bowl. The Indianapolis player was originally listed on the American Football Conference roster in December, only to be dropped hours later because of what the NFL called a computer error in the tabulation of votes. The Colts have announced Glenn is now on the squad following an injury to Kansas City tackle Willie Roaf. The 6'5", 332-pound player will join 7 other Indianapolis players for their second straight Pro Bowl appearance. Major League pitching coaches can relax. Their best talent will be overtaxed during the inaugural World Baseball Classic. Tournament officials have set pitch limits and mercy rules designed to protect pitchers during the early stages of spring training. Pitchers in the first round of games will be limited to 65 pitches. That amount rises to 80 tosses for the second round and 95 for the semifinals and championship. Games will be stopped after 5 innings when a team is ahead at least 15 runs and after 7 frames with the team up by double digits. The Cincinnati Reds are getting started on finding their next general manager. Minnesota's Wayne Krivsky will be interviewed next week for the vacant job. Krivsky is an assistant general manager for the Minnesota Twins and interviewed for the Reds job in 2003. New Reds owner Bob Castanelli fired Dan O'Brien this week, saying he wants his own man in the job. Brant Jobe and Thomas LeVay are co-leaders through one round of the PGA's Buick Invitational. They each shot 7 under par 65s, putting them 1 stroke ahead of 9 others. Tiger Woods has some catching up to do following his 1 under 71. He's clipped 3 strokes from par over his opening 7 holes on the South Course today. Top seed Roger Federer advanced to the Australian Open Championship match with today's 6-3, 5-7, 6-love, 6-2 win over 21st seed Nicholas Kiefer. The 6-time Grand Slam champion will now face junior world champion Marcos Baghdatis in Sunday's title showdown. They've met 3 times, with Federer walking away with a win in each match. The women's title will be up for grabs tomorrow in Melbourne. 8th seed Justin Anine Ardine takes on 3rd seed Amelie Mauresmo. Americans Julia Mancuso and Lindsay Kildow finished 2nd and 3rd in today's World Cup Super G race. Overall champion Anya Pearson was the winner. And Amy, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Kurt. Still to come on Newscenter 22, a new EPA rule could mean big changes ahead in the way millions of us cook our dinner. I'll explain when we return.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, January the 28th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. and the show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
Teflon is found in products all around us, but could it be affecting our health? Brian Todd reports.
Wearing and washing your clothes, walking on your carpet, eating a small order of fries from your local fast food joint. Could those simple acts expose you to a dangerous carcinogen? Officials at the Environmental Protection Agency have suspicions about the chemical called perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, but they're not entirely sure. And they're asking 8 major corporations to help eliminate the risk.
Asking them to voluntarily commit to reduce their emissions and use in products by 95% by the year 2010 and to move towards virtual elimination by the year 2015.
Companies like DuPont use PFOA to make Teflon, which goes into the stain resistance in clothing. PFOA is also used to make the coating inside small French fry holders and popcorn packages that keep the oil from leaking through.
It's actually coating the paper that once you heat up, it moves into the oil around the popcorn and then you ingest it.
Tim Kropp, a scientist with a public health watchdog called the Environmental Working Group, says with clothing, the stain resistant from Teflon gets broken down when you wear and wash your clothes, then it turns into PFOA particles that you inhale. Kropp's group says 96% of Americans have at least some level of PFOA in their systems. The chemical's been shown to cause cancer in animals, but no one's been able to link the levels of PFOA found in household products to cancer in humans. As for the manufacturers, DuPont was the first company to respond to the EPA's request to eliminate emissions and content levels in their products. A statement from DuPont reads in part, DuPont has been aggressively reducing PFOA emissions to the environment. Having achieved a 94% reduction in global manufacturing emissions by year-end 2005, we are well on our way to meet the goals and objectives established by the EPA Stewardship Program.
Does all this mean you should throw out your stain-resistant clothing or carpeting? Absolutely not. The EPA official we spoke to said they have no information that consumer products with PFOA are causing a hazard or risk. They're merely taking a precaution. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
And that's all for this evening. For Alan Schaefer and Kurt Maddox, I'm Amy Reef. Good night.